Well, if you do that now under the PPP regime as of June, guess what? Guess what? 100,000. 100,000 cash grant. $100,000. Tom Anderson is with us tonight. I know Tom is saying, oh man, you guys know how Tom is. Oh man, Tom is real American, right? Real born American. Tom is going to be like, oh man, I wish I could be in Guyana right now. Tom, good night to you. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How's everyone doing? Hello, everybody.
I told you guys, hey man, how are you? Tom, every single other month, my friend, the PPP is giving out cash grants for school, cash grants for marriage, cash grants for baby, cash grants for baby father, cash grants for baby mother, cash grants for concubine. How do you think, sir, a country can exist, run on just cash grants?
I know, right? It's a predicament that everyone finds themselves in, and it gets back to what I've been saying. The system there is broken. That's the problem. It's the system itself. The system isn't working for the nation, for the domestic population. It's just not. The people who are at the highest, at the top of the ladder in power for the nation, they aren't reflective of what everyone down below are needing and wanting, right? And so you've got a runaway system now where these guys have to try to make the masses happy, while at the same time they don't have any idea of how to make it so that they can get more of the wealth that is theirs, right? And they can't seem to find a way to get most of the country behind whatever it is they're trying to do. And like you've said many times on your show, you've had many guests on, and as everyone knows watching right now, right, at the end of the day, they have a system set up so that most average people get basically stolen from and the people at the top get all the benefits. And so that's just how it goes, and that's what's causing this issue with the cash grants. It's one of the only ways they know to try to keep everyone feeling like they're getting some of the money that they should be getting, right? But it's only a small fraction from what everyone can tell. If they were doing a better job at making sure things weren't getting smuggled out of the country, if they were doing a better job at making sure that the wealth of the nation was distributed more fairly, then they wouldn't have to do the cash grants. But we're not there, so the cash grants it is. And there's an election coming up, so of course, knock down two birds with one stone.
Knock down two birds with one stone. Tom Anderson is with us tonight. Tom is always with us. And even during elections time, whether elections are held this year or next year, and mind you, I'm saying to you guys that the PPP is not interested in having elections this year. Speaking of the cash grants for everything. I heard the guys around the cathedral, and Tom, somebody may inbox you later and explain to you what the cathedral and why I oftentimes say the cathedral. But the guys around the cathedral doing their trade, like 42nd Street, but the cathedral is like 42nd Street, and no insult to those who attend Sunday Cathedral, but nightly Cathedral there, you go around, they are going to have a cash grant. That is how the PPPC is running the country. There's no plan, there's no policy, there's nothing, there's no vision. Tom, earlier I did say that the PPP, it appears as though they are in serious trouble, and the possibility is high that they may postpone the elections. Are you getting that feeling as you look into Guyana?
It wouldn't surprise anyone. Um, they've got a runaway train sort of underneath them, and you have the issue of the neighbor next to you guys. So you've got Maduro sitting there waiting for any little chance to jump in, and these guys are barely holding everything together because they don't know how to get a system in place that benefits everyone and that allows the country to grow in a more equitable way. They just don't have the ability. They don't have the system for it, and they don't have the imagination to even look towards doing it. And they're busy wiping out anyone politically who might have that imagination. So anyone in the country now who might be thinking sort of out of the pocket, thinking in terms that are more advanced, more like Western society, maybe more like some of the more successful economies in Europe, for example, anyone who's trying to come with those types of ideas, they basically wipe out, and they talk as if those people are they don't know what they're talking about, like they're yahoos or something. But in reality, these guys are the yahoos. These guys are the ones who are bringing forth a system that they mastered back in the late 90s and early 2000s, a system based on third world, backwater politics. Okay. And that's what these guys became masters of. And they're just bringing that into the modern day. So that's why they've hired the lobbyists. That's why they're doing the public affairs stuff, because they're trying to basically wash away who they really are. But you can't wash it away with this stuff that they're doing, right? They're trying
Yeah.
to. So that's the situation they're in. They're barely holding on to the facade. In that house of cards, the wrong card gets knocked over, and the entire thing is going to come tumbling down, and they know it. So yeah, they're in a precarious position.
Precarious position indeed. They know that it's tumbling down. London Bridge is falling down. Well, the corrupt PPP is going down. Tom, this is often, I know you've been following many, many years ago the Curacao gold heist. That was a controversial something under the PPP regime when they were covering up the gold smugglers, and they know who the gold smugglers are. But let's get back to couple days ago with this cocaine bust. Silence from the government of Guyana. Silence from the Drug Enforcement Agency there in Guyana. Even the Guyana Police Force about this drug bust, this cocaine bust. I believe 6.3 tons of cocaine. Are you surprised that they're not saying a word? They're tight-lipped.
Well, they can't say much because they don't have control over what's coming in and out of the country. And the amount of control they do have, for example, like the former minister, the former minister May Thomas, right? So
Permanent secretary.
the
Yeah.
former permanent secretary. So she's an example of someone within their government who had a handle on what was coming in and out of the country. She knew what was coming in and out of the country so well that she was taking gifts on the side in exchange for from what our government is saying, in exchange for making false paperwork. Okay. So whatever handle they do have on what's coming in and out of the country, most likely there's some type of corrupt affair happening where the people on the ground, the real miners of the gold, the real companies who are getting the gold out to market, they have to pay all kinds of different, side fees to get their product out to the rest of the world. That's just what these guys have set up. That's what they've mastered. This is what they do, right? And so when you have that kind of system, yeah, man, a lot of drugs are going to start coming through. And then what makes it worse is you've got Trump now, who's put this big tariff on Venezuelan oil. So anyone who buys Venezuelan oil, you get automatic 25% tariff hit on whatever you send to our country, no matter what it is. And so that's made it so China isn't even buying oil from Venezuela now. So what is that going to do for that regime? They're going to have to send much more drugs through Guyana. Like that's what else? What else are they going to do to make their money? Of course, that's what they're going to do. So yeah, they're going to. This is a very, very bad sign that these types of drug busts are happening in a nation that is as wealthy as Guyana is. It's saying that, whoa, wait a minute, these guys promised that if they could get their hands on the oil wealth, that they could run the country, that they could control this type of stuff. Well, clearly they haven't done it. And this is a really bad sign that we're seeing these types of busts happening right now.
A really bad sign indeed. Earlier, we on a discussion, some folks were talking about the fact that the corrupt PPP regime, they're silent about the 400 pounds, I believe, of cocaine drugs out in Trinidad and Tobago from a vessel from Guyana, and this vessel from Guyana now with 6.3 tons of cocaine, and not a word from the PPP regime. Well, we can't be surprised at that. Tom, I want you to listen, and our listeners, I want you guys to, as we prepare to go to a recording, and this recording is with the man who sits there for now as the Minister of Labor. I want you to listen to this illegality, and let's have the people in the audience be the judge. Here goes.
Bakewell You know, the bread people. She came to see me. Actually, all the staff she has now, all the people now baking Bakewell bread that you're eating are from Cuba. You didn't know that, let me tell you. All, actually. Our concern was, Minister, would I get into trouble because of the document issue? My position was, once you pay them and take advantage of them, trust me, you'll get into no trouble. Because we have to eat bread. You can't wait for the Guyanese worker who will not come to work. When they go and hang out with Vice Cartel, 2 days they lost. They not come back. They go and sport with Borman, right? You in trouble, no bread gonna bake. I'm glad y'all could laugh. I'm talking about what is real here.
Okay, thanks to News Source for that. Credible source, sorry. So, Tom, you heard there, a minister of the government is promoting illegal workers, saying it's okay, let them work. As long as you pay them properly, it's okay, let them work. And the other thing is that, but let us take that first one there. What is your take on that sort of promoting illegality by that minister?
Well, I mean, I have to say that I can't really be critical of him because that's been our government stance for a long time here. I mean, that's what we've been doing here. So, and I haven't criticized our government's policies on immigration. I've warned people what would happen if Trump became president, right? I warned that he would start going after people, his administration would start going after people that probably shouldn't be gone after, and that the people who you really need to go after, they're going to be fine staying here just fine. Like that. This is what I said would happen. It's happening. We could see it now. And yeah, that's how we've been. And that's where if I am critical of our policy here in America, it's that we're just like what he described. We just pretend like we aren't, right? And if you think about it, there really wouldn't be an illegal immigration problem in the United States if all we did was told employers, hey, you're going to go to jail if you hire someone who's illegal. That's all you got to say. And guess what happens? If you can't get a job here, then you're not going to live here. See, there's this thought that, people would just come here to live off of welfare and stuff. Nah, nobody wants to do that. Nobody's trying to come to America. This is a rough place to live. This is not an easy place to live, okay? And people who haven't been here before, if you come, I'm telling you, this is not an easy place to live. It's very, very, very difficult, right? You cannot live off of public whatever donations and stuff. You have to actually work. Otherwise, you just can't live in the United States. That's the bottom line. And so, because of that, if you cut out all the jobs, we wouldn't have an illegal immigration problem. And if you documented everyone that was here that had a job and wasn't breaking the law, you have a working system. You wouldn't have any problems. But we don't do that here because we believe in what this man just said, that, hey, let them come here illegally. And as long as you're paying them fine, then it's fine. Because guess what? They work way harder than Americans. If you ask an American to do whatever job, they're not going to do it. And if they do it, they're going to charge you 3 times as much money. And they're lazy. This is what's said here. It's the exact same thing he said. So I can't, really besmirch the guy. What I can say is at least he's being honest. Here, we do exactly what he's saying, except we pretend that we don't. That's the only difference.
The difference, though, with Pulori Joe is encouraging that illegality. In America, it's slightly different, where you come and you go through a system where you have work authorization. You go through that system. Of course, there are some who are undocumented and just go about working.
The system's broken because it takes you like 10, 15 years.
A government, 1 second, please. When you have a government official promoting illegality, then it becomes questionable. Not an employer that is hiring. We could somewhat, yes, understand an employer doing that, but not a government official accepting illegality, promoting illegality.
We have that going on here. We have that going on here. The governor of Louisiana, just 2 years ago, got in trouble because he has a company that hires people for jobs around the state of Louisiana. This is the governor of the entire state. And he hired something like 3,000 illegal Mexican welders and brought them into the United States illegally. Okay. So we have public officials here that do the illegal stuff on purpose, and they want it that way. And that's how they make their money. Okay. On top of that, most of our elected officials who may criticize illegal immigration, guess what? I guarantee you they have a nanny working in their house who's illegal. I'm just
that's
saying.
not true. Stop
That's
now.
what's going on.
Don't say that about Trump. Trump hired.
That's what's going on. I'm sorry, man. Like, it's the hypocrisy is off the chain. At least this guy is being honest. I'm not saying he should do it. All I'm saying is at least he's being honest, because up here we do the exact same thing. Government officials either breaking the law, and they pretend like, oh, illegal immigration is so bad, when they're actually making money off of it. Nah, man. I'm sorry.
Got your point there, Polari Joe. Polari Joe is promoting that illegality, and on top of that, though, I'm not sure if you picked up the attack on African Guyanese. Basically, he mentioned that he's basically saying that African Guyanese, without saying it, that African Guyanese are a lazy bunch. That's what Polari Joe is saying. Polari Joe is saying that, and it's saying that those who go to Vibes Cartel, I'm not saying only African Guyanese go to Vibes Cartel and Burna Boy and so forth and so on, but that is exactly what he's targeting. African Guyanese in any other part of the world. And I'm just saying this here, that Guyanese people, especially those in the opposition, they're misguided. They're supposed to have Polari Joe packing. He should be forced to resign. First, he's attacking persons of African descent. And secondly, he's promoting an illegality. He's promoting illegal working in the country. Whether it's acceptable, whether it happens in America, whether it happens in Canada or so, if it happens, and you mentioned the governor of Louisiana, it wasn't likely, it was controversial. And therefore, he had to backpedal in so many ways. He had to feel the squeeze. In Guyana, Polari Joe, that guy, has to feel the squeeze. What is it that people are doing in Guyana to go after Polari Joe and let him know that it is wrong, what he has done? Absolutely nothing. You were making a point, Tom.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, everything you're saying. And as Frank Rice is saying, you know, I'm wasting his time talking about America. The reason why I'm talking about America is because I'm talking about what's happening with this one individual in Guyana, and what I'm saying is what he's doing is 100% acceptable here in the United States. So it's hard for me to criticize what he's doing, and it's hard for me to criticize anyone in the nation of Guyana at all on immigration issues, because we're the masters of horrible immigration issues right over here. So I'm just saying, hey, I'm not the one to criticize this man, and you guys actually have a much better system than we have when it comes to this. And so your standards are a lot higher. You know, when if some guy here was saying stuff like that, most people here wouldn't care. Unfortunately, because we get it here too, where, you know, people say Black Americans don't want to work. This is what they say all the time. This is what we hear all the time, right? And so what's happening in Guyana is exactly what's been happening up here. So I really can't criticize it. That's all I'm saying. I can't criticize the man. I just can't.
Yeah, that's okay. Otherwise, it'll be the hypocrisy. But we've got to criticize Polari Joe. He's oftentimes putting not only Polari in his mouth, lots of other things indeed. And Polari Joe has just put his foot in his mouth again. It is just wrong. Not because it happens in America means it's, and I'm not saying that that's what you're saying to Tom, but it is just wrong. If you know Polari Joe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And even with the governor of Louisiana, he came under heavy pressure, public scrutiny for what he did with his firm as well. And the same should be done to that guy, Polari Joe. As we move on now, I want to take you to, let's go over to what, but before we go there, let's say let's get your take on this guy, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, is in Jamaica. He's scheduled to be in Guyana, maybe bright and early tomorrow. What's your take on Marco Rubio's visit to these countries?
Well, he should be prepared because and I've said this for a while now. The future of our part of the world, in the Western world, is going to be the Caribbean region. Like, that's our future. Okay, period. And so however that region goes is how our entire hemisphere is going to go. Like, that's just, there's no way around it. And so he needs to come prepared. His staff better be sharp, really sharp, and better be prepared to deal with some people that are masters at deception. They're masters at all sorts of political chicanery. I mean, these guys, not just in Guyana, but in a lot of the nations in the Caribbean, okay? Like, these guys are masters at stuff that we in the United States just aren't used to, okay? Our cultures are very different. And some of the standards that we have here, we just can't believe that other people would go so low. But there's some people here in this region who that Rubio needs to understand will go very, very low to places even it's hard for us to imagine, right? So he has to know that, and he has to be prepared to do business with these guys, but be firm and direct. And I would say this, the biggest thing I would say to Rubio is this, man: trust, but verify. That's it. Okay. Go ahead, trust what they're saying, but verify every single thing these guys are saying in all these countries he's going to visit, because that's the key to dealing with these guys is trust, but give them an opportunity, but you have to verify.
Do you think that at this stage, especially as it pertains to Guyana, that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is going to verify what he hears?
His staff will. That's the good thing about our government still, is that we have a lot of career staff in place. Even though a lot of people left, took retirement and stuff like that, there are still a lot of really good career government workers, and his staff, he's got some really good staff. Okay, bottom line. And so those guys are going to verify. And that would be my advice to them, right? Is go ahead and trust, but verify, because I promise you, whatever it is these guys are going to try to claim they're doing in Guyana and in other places, like, that's just one side of the story. Make sure you get all sides, because and on top of that, whatever guarantees you think you have, just know this: when it comes to some of these guys, that the negotiations don't begin until after you sign the deal. Okay, that's how these guys are. So as soon as you sign on the dotted line, the deal, that's when they go to start negotiating the deal with you. That's when they go to start changing things. And so you can't ever rely upon any type of deal with them, because as soon as you do that, they are going to be looking to try to sidetrack it and break it down and just do whatever they can to just force it to their direction 100%. So that's what he needs to be prepared for, and his staff better be ready, because that's the only way to approach this region right now.
All right, Tom Anderson with us here as we move to some other stuff. And one of the things that's happening now, U.S. Congresswoman Yvette Clarke condemned detention of Atwell, that's Melissa Atwell, also known as Melly Mel, and calls for protection from persecution. And then guess what? Anil Nandalal and the government, the installed government of Guyana, got angry. And they said, look, Anil Nandalal denounces U.S. Congresswoman's one-sided remarks on Melly Mel's detention. One-sided. This is coming from a member of the government. They do not believe in democracy. They do not believe in transparency. They do not believe in giving people a fair hearing or nothing. But suddenly, he wants both sides of the story from the Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. What's the other side? What the heck is this guy talking about, Tom?
Yeah, well, this is another example of a culture clash, right? Where for our standards of how you're supposed to treat a prisoner or someone who may be maybe close to maybe being a political prisoner, they were involved in political activities. And yeah, they may have gone to jail for something else, but they were involved in political activity. So in our culture, whenever someone is doing that, like let's say someone who's in the media, someone who's like Melissa Atwell, who has their own show and has tens of thousands of people who follow her show that she does on a regular basis. When you have someone like that, we handle that with care, right? We don't just go after those types of people. We have a huge respect for freedom of speech, for the First Amendment. I mean, it's one of the foundations of our nation and our culture, right? It's embedded in our culture. It's who we are. And so what's happening is Congresswoman Clark is speaking from that perspective, right? Where, we would handle the way we would handle a person like Melly Mel is nothing like the way these guys speak about her and the way that they have been like bragging or attacking her, right? Through third parties and whatnot. And so people need to realize that not only is there a difference in cultures like that, but on top of that, right, we have a different level of respect for Black women. Yeah, we have our issues here. We have major issues here in the United States, racially and gender wise. I mean, they're serious, right? But whatever issues we have, multiply times 100 for down in Guyana. Okay. And Congresswoman Clark, she knows that, right? And so she knows that women don't really get a fair shake. If you look at the women who support the most powerful men in government in Guyana, I never see Irfan Ali's wife doing anything of real substance. They're treated as if they're almost like property, like cattle, almost like culturally. I'm just saying from our perspective, that's how it's viewed. And so when you have a woman like Congresswoman Clark, and she knows from her perspective that the culture in Guyana is to treat women more like items or property instead of as strong human beings, right? And then you treat Black women even worse, right? When she sees that from her perspective, she doesn't need to hear a second side of a story or anything. She already knows that if Melly Mel is sent down to Guyana, she will be a political prisoner and her life and her physical safety will be at risk every second of every day that she's there. She knows that, right? And so at this point, this is an international incident because these guys in Guyana who are leading the country, they don't understand that this is not how you deal with people who are exercising First Amendment speech. This is not how you deal with when an elected official here, like Congresswoman Clark, publicly says, "Hey, you need to basically back off of how you guys are dealing with this situation with Melissa Atwell." You don't come at the Congresswoman attacking her or saying anything negative towards her at all. As a matter of fact, what should be happening is they should take a lesson, listen to what she's saying, and realize that this situation around Melissa Atwell is very serious and can become an international incident quickly, very fast. Okay. They don't realize it because Melissa is a Black woman, and culturally here in the Western world, we just have it ingrained in us to have a sort of an animus towards Black women. I mean, I'm just saying, this is what I've experienced here in the United States. It happens down in Guyana, and I think that's a part of what's happening here, and that's why the Congresswoman is speaking up, because as a Black woman, she understands what this animus is like, and she sees that it's being leveraged upon Miss Atwell, and so she's speaking out on her behalf because of that, right? And so it takes a lot of courage for the Congresswoman to do this. So the response from the Guyanese government should be one of respect. They shouldn't criticize, because this is a serious move that the Congresswoman took on this. Okay. And so this is now an international incident. I hope they realize that it is. And I hope they start to learn down in Guyana and Georgetown, hey man, like you need to act differently on the world stage, especially when it comes to human rights, and especially when it comes to freedom of speech, like here in America, and especially when an elected official steps in to talk about it.
And that elected official who stepped in to talk about it and talk about fairness is no other than Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, for always speaking out against injustices. meted out to Guyanese under the corrupt PPP regime. And Anil Nandalal doesn't like it, and who cares? Suddenly, Anil wants to talk about two sides. Suddenly, he wants two sides of the story. They have been peddling all manner of things about her, accusations, all sort of allegations, like one person's pronouncing PPP pronouncing allegations as alienation, allegation, all manner of things they're doing. But what we're asking is for Anil Nandalal to tell us the other side of this story. This is a man who's wanted a Ponzi scheme, 58 counts of fraud. Many of you know, not so long, a couple of years ago, this guy and his Guyanese wife, they were charged. But Anil has to tell us what happened with the bank accounts and whether this guy and his wife repaid those people. Now he's back in the news. This guy, a Cuban, is back in the news. I'm not sure if he was one of them baking bread at that bakery, but he's back in the news. And instead of Anil Nandalal going after this honorable congresswoman, he needs to tell the nation what's his relationship with this wanted guy and what he did, whether he did anything to cause the hundreds of victims of this guy and his wife, this guy's wife, to basically suffer. That's what Anil Nandalal should be telling us. Tom, I noticed in the CNN report, and it says here that a glimpse at complaints inside Louisiana and Texas ICE detention centers. This is where these guys are, but this is also where Melissa Atwell is currently at. CNN has picked up this report, something that you have been talking about in terms of folks like Melly Mel and others, high profile, being placed there as a form of severe punishment. All of this in this CNN report. Tom, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I mean, this has been, it's hard to, it's like I say, it's hard for me to criticize this stuff on immigration on our end because we are so egregious when it comes to how we have designed a system to basically criminalize people who want to come here and freely take part in our society and become U.S. citizens and work hard and raise a family. Like we've created a system that basically terrorizes some of these people. Okay. And this detention center stuff is a part of that terrorizing, right? Like, where is she going to go? Melissa Atwell, maybe she could go to Canada, I guess, right? But where is she going to go? And what has she done to make it so that she has to stay locked up somewhere? And if she were to leave to Canada, wouldn't that be the point of our immigration system, is to say, okay, we don't want you here. So if she leaves to Canada on her own with her own money, doesn't that like accomplish the goal? So no matter how you look at it, she probably shouldn't be in jail, right? There shouldn't be, she shouldn't be there. And so it speaks to this being a political situation. It speaks to us now using our broken immigration system to persecute people politically. Like that's what we're doing. And that's what we're seeing with this, right? And so unfortunately, Miss Atwell is a victim of this right now. And so I'm glad that the Congresswoman, Yvette Clarke spoke up on this, because very few members of Congress have the guts and the temerity to speak truth to something that right now everyone's hiding from and running from, right? Because you've got Mayor Adams, he's working with the deportation czar guy, right? He's got his thing going on with his corruption case and everything, and some kind of deal he's brokering with Trump. And so you've got basically betrayal happening right in front of your face on the immigration front, right there in New York City. And so there's just no mood for the politicians there to even talk about anything immigration right now. So for her to come out and speak on this, it says a lot about her character as a congresswoman. And it also says that, hey, our government has an eye on what's going on with Miss Atwell. And we're watching this from a human rights perspective. Okay, that's what we're doing. So the PPP, instead of getting upset and instead of trying to create some type of adversarial stance here, it might be better to just back off a little bit and allow, Americans to be Americans, and we will allow you to be you. But trying to work through our system the way that they are right now, They're getting the pushback from Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. They're going to be getting pushback from many, many more. That you've got people getting sanctions. This is not the road to go. PPP. I'm telling you, it's just not the road to go. There's a much better road. This is not it. And for us on our end, we are abusing very good people. Okay, and once again, let me just reiterate this too. Miss Atwell is innocent until proven guilty. So all of this talk out there about how she's being arrested because she committed a crime, she's been arrested because she's done something with fraud or something like that. None of that is true. Why? Because whatever's going on with her, she's in front of an immigration judge inside of an immigration detention center. Okay, she hasn't been charged or on anything of some type of fraud or anything like that. So this is an immigration thing. And so what people are saying about her, whatever they're saying about her, they're besmirching her name, because in the United States, you are innocent until proven guilty. Now, I'm not saying that she hasn't done anything wrong in her entire life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying she's a perfect angel. All I'm saying is that we have a system of innocent until proven guilty, and she hasn't been proven guilty of 99.9% of the stuff that people have been saying about her negatively, which is a disservice to everyone, the public, to her, to everyone.
A disservice indeed. And from reports we're getting, Melissa Atwell, she goes to court on Friday, and you can take your popcorn out. I'm almost certain that she will walk free. What are her chances based on how you're looking into this? The case should have been heard back all the way in June. It's been put forward now for this Friday.
I mean, it's not like she's going to try to race back home to Guyana and hide. Right. So I don't know why she's in jail still, man. I think she's going to walk out of jail after this next hearing, in my opinion. I looked at the judge she has. He's a very experienced immigration. He was an immigration attorney in the Texas area for some time before he became an immigration judge. So he knows both sides of this, right? He knows how broken the system is in an intimate way. So she actually has a really good judge that she's facing right now. And I think she's going to find herself free on the other end of this, in my opinion.
All right. Hopefully we'll have her right here Friday night. Hopefully we'll probably call her or wait until she calls and say, hey, we'll have you right here on 107.1 FM. She will be free. Tom, it's ironic that the government has, the installed government of Guyana has gone after her in this manner. It means that they have a lot to hide, and now they suddenly want to wash their hands as though they're angels. The reason why Congresswoman Yvette Clarke picked up on this matter is because I do believe that Melissa Atwell lives within the district, that's District 9, where the Congresswoman is part of, and those are the people she represents. And the people that she represents, Melissa Atwell is one of those individuals. And the Congresswoman, and somebody should let Anil Nandalal and those other nitwits within the PPP know that the Congresswoman has an obligation to speak out and represent a member of her constituency, I believe. And Melissa Atwell falls right within that. On top of that, not so long ago, Melissa Atwell did a presentation at a function for, to talk about human rights abuses and racism in Guyana practiced by the corrupt PPP regime. Melissa Atwell discussed that with the Congresswoman a few months ago. So it is not like the Congresswoman isn't aware as to what's going on and how they're persecuting people in Guyana. They're well aware. And so the Congresswoman has looked at this thing from all angles. And so when she makes a comment on this particular matter, it is that she is not only informed, but she is well informed on the matter. Anything else on this before we move on, Tom?
That's right. That's how you know, right, that these guys have a hand in what's happening to Miss Atwell. Okay, that's how you know, because obviously when a Congresswoman who's speaking on behalf of her constituent makes an issue of this publicly, she's doing that because guess what? She has grounds to do it on. And if she has grounds to do it on, that means PPP, you need to back off. That's what that means. Okay. But for them to, instead of backing off, for them to basically come on the attack, what that means is that, that's that old saying, if you throw a rock into a group of dogs, the one that yelps the loudest is the one that got hit. So they're getting mad, okay, because clearly probably the person who's personally behind why our government went after Miss Atwell to begin with is probably this non-law guy, okay, because he's the dog that yelped the loudest when Congressman Yvette Clarke's rock got thrown over there to Georgetown. What do? You get non-law here yelping like a hurt dog. So that's what's going on. So clearly he had a personal hand in this, and he needs to back off because these aren't the types. This is an international incident now, and his government needs to understand that they're asking for our help and for the backing of the American people to help protect their resources against a madman next door neighbor in Maduro. That's a big deal. Okay, that's a big ask. And so all of us as American citizens with our rights of free speech, we're allowed to comment on this because that's a huge ask. What if we decide, hey, we're not going to help you guys out. Let Maduro just have whatever he wants. There's no way they'd be able to stop him. Okay. So we are the ones who are backing him, backing the PPP. We're backing non-law. We're backing everything that's happening right now. And so since when a member of our government, a high-ranking member of our government, steps out and speaks publicly on something like this, it's time to back off. It's time to realize that you need to leave this alone. But clearly, like I say, the rock hit him. So he's the one behind this, most likely. Okay. I mean, that's from my experience, he's behind it. And so he's guilty, and he thinks he's going to fight his way out of this. No, man, it's best to back off on this. You lost. That's it. Accept the L and keep it moving, man. Okay.
I was just looking at a so-called post by one of the orangutans of the PPP, Ruel Johnson, orangutan of the PPP. He's basically saying how Hakeem Jeffries is so quiet, and he sent out Yvette Clarke. These guys are they're lost. They're in the dark as to what's happening. And let me remind some of these nitwits individuals that Yvette Clarke issued, I believe, a proclamation, or whatever you call it, a citation to Melly Mel for her work and others last year. Hakeem Jeffries' office, Congressman Jeffries' office, did the same. So it's not like they're not familiar with these individuals, and not Melly Mel. It's not like because you're not seeing them saying anything means that they're not acting on these things. And these nitwits in the PPP would understand how American politicians operate. And so not because you don't hear a politician speak on this matter means that they are silent. And somebody tell Tennis Roll Johnson to take a hike. In your closing remarks, Tom, what do you have to say to the Guyanese people?
Well, this is a good sign that Congresswoman Clarke backed Miss Atwell. It's a very good sign. Okay. And it's proof, right, that still at the highest levels of our nation and our society, we have people who have an eye on what's going on in Guyana, and we have an eye for the human rights situation there. We have an eye for the different diaspora who have had to flee a little bit because of the corruption there, right? And so that's what we're focused in on, and that's what we have in high places of power right now. And so this is a different scenario for the nation of Guyana. This is a different one. It's I believe, a much better one, but it's going to take a lot of change to occur in order for it to be a much better relationship that everyone can benefit from, because, of like what we're seeing now with Ms. Atwell, right? This is a culture clash. We're in a position where we're trying to get people who mastered the art of underhanded politics, of doing things outside of the law, of acting above the law. We're asking those guys to get under the law now, and we're asking them to follow a law that's fair for everyone in the nation, right? And that equally distributes the wealth that everyone has a right to, all the citizens have a right to. That's what we're saying. And that's what from everything I can tell, that's where we're coming from, right? And the reason why is because that benefits us the most. It doesn't benefit us to have a dictatorial regime full of corruption there, because as you saw, there's these huge multi-ton busts of cocaine coming out, right? And then you got other situations like the Guyanese government giving the Guyana flag to Iranian vessels to get around oil sanctions, for example, right? And then you've got the smuggling of gold, and then you've got the weapons smuggling, and it just goes on and on and on, right? And so that's not beneficial to anyone on the world stage. It's not beneficial to us. And so there's so much going on economically now that, a real system has to be put in place. It's time for them, instead of criticizing people like Congresswoman Clark, they need to speak with her and learn lessons from her, right? They need to find out from her what they can do better to be a better government and to set up a better system for the people of Guyana, right? She clearly has an interest. She clearly understands a lot of what's going on down there. So they would be smart to learn from her and to get her advice. They shouldn't be in a position where they're trying to besmirch her or push her to the side, because she's not the one, and she knows what's going on, and they're not going to be in a strong position here if that's the approach they're going to take.
Well said, Tom. Well said. I noticed Connie Elstrom says she is not in his constituency, referring to Melissa Atwell is not in Congressman Hakeem Jeffries' constituency, and therefore the Congresswoman has an obligation to stand up and defend a member within her district. That is what the Nitwith and Tennis Ruel Johnston, these guys wouldn't understand. I don't know, so much hatred that these PPP guys have for this woman. So much hatred. Whether we agree with everything she says or not, this is an injustice against her, and it must be corrected. And therefore, Melissa Atwell will walk free this Friday. All right. That said, I know I had one other thought that came to mind, but I'll just probably allow that to go. For now, Tom Anderson, as always, you guys can check out his podcast, check out his blog, read his stuff, share his information. He has lots and lots of information indeed. Tom, I know you will be back maybe by Friday. Tomorrow is Thursday. Do promise to be back when Melissa Atwell, and this is just my opinion, she will be out this Friday. We'd love to have you back right here on 107.1 FM, sir.
I'll be back. Thanks for having me on, guys, and have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much. And thank you for always sharing your time with us, Tom Anderson. Lots and lots of time it takes to put aside his busy schedule to be here with us. Thank you so much, Tom. But what the PPP is doing, they basically want to control everything. And because they're not getting to control, they're frustrated. And we are not surprised that they went all out after the Honorable Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. And we are not going to stand by and allow a corrupt PPP regime to go after Congresswoman Yvette Clarke or disrespect her. She has done a lot for Guyanese. She has done a lot for Guyana. She stood up against those dictators. She stood on the side of those who have been persecuted by the corrupt PPP regime. And the Honorable Congresswoman Yvette Clarke has every right to stand up and stand on the side of justice. And in doing so, she already knows the other side. And the other side of the story, that is the PPP side, is very, very rank. And so the likes of Anil Nandalal do not have to basically dictate to the Congresswoman and to make it appear that she's unaware of the other side. What is the other side? all that she's saying is that Melissa Atwell deserves a fair trial, that Melissa Atwell should not be persecuted, and that Melissa Atwell should be freed. That is all that she's saying. What other side is Anil talking about? And since Anil knows the other side, and maybe he has been pushing a different narrative behind the scenes with some of these people to go after critics of the corrupt, racist, drug-dealing, murderous PPP regime. And so if that's the other side, he wants folks like Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and others to know. Let us just remind Anil that they probably know all of that and more. All of that and more, including law books, including Crummy Wing, including Ronald Waddle, including Sash Saw, including the hundreds of young men, mainly young African Guyanese men who were murdered. You'll be surprised that these congressmen and these congresswomen and these senators, they know a heck of a lot. And so Anil jumping out now to say that Congresswoman Yvette Clarke should hear the other side. What exactly? That's my question to Anil Nandalal. What exactly is the other side? Nobody wants to hear the lies and the propaganda. We have been subjected to all of the lies and propaganda every Thursday, every single Thursday at that so-called press conference with Bharat Jagdeo, calling critics of the government and criminals and all manner of things every single Thursday. It's like throwing water in ducks' back. But when you have a government, a corrupt government that does that to its citizens, that go after its citizens, what more do you want? That persecute citizens. What more do you want? Try to curtail freedom of speech. What more do you want? Trample upon the rights, constitutional rights of its citizens. What more do you want? That's what I'm asking. What more do you want? Well, the people will decide next elections. And guess what? The PPP will have a rude awakening in the next general and regional elections in Guyana. Quickly, before we go, though, survivors of the Madhya fire victims sue the state for $16.5 billion. Way to go. They deserve that. And good for the government, as we would say, because they are the cause of this fire. No matter what they try to do, you see, Priya Manikchan was, oh yes, that is Priya Manikchan, mind you. Forget about the dal belly. That's okay. That's okay. These things happen. Not all of us can be in nice shape and so forth. It's okay, guys. We're not here about that. I know some of you are tempted to comment about what you see there, but it's okay. We're not here to shame anybody because of how they look or their size or so forth and so on. We'll stick to the subject and what it is all about. All right. And so the folks, they're now suing. They're suing the government. They're suing the government. Hey, guys, you know what's happening here, right? Whenever you see this, it means time to go. Time to go, guys. Look who's here. Our executive producer is here, right? And we've got to go. We've got to go, guys. All right? Say bye-bye. We'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. My boss is here, and my boss is saying, guess what? Bye-bye. I got to go, guys. My boss is here. All right, tomorrow night we'll talk about Polari Joe and more. But for now, my name is Mark Benchap. Until, oh my gosh, tomorrow's press conference, right? Or so-called press conference. This is what you guys are going to be hearing at tomorrow's press conference. I'm out of here. God bless you all. Kidduck, so long. Bye-bye.
I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%. Get your give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. progress. I want you try surviving on the public pace. Then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how we go set up. The people fed up. They done drive no fair with the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment. And you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows. One set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done.
Please help me. Who is Slack Bogda?
Slack Bogda and the other.
How we gonna do a body man walk right now? You ready? Boxer, let me go now. Hear me sing now. Body walk, body walk, body walk.
You said valid votes counts. Votes cast must more votes cast must mean valid votes. You said valid votes counts. Votes cast must more votes.
Yeah, my name is Jasity Kaldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today I can't take it, so I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
But I'm guided by the great books. Beware the children of God, of false prophets. And beware